So we just finished watching the 35th film entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Captain America Brave New World. I remember when this was announced, it was titled Captain America New World Order, and the wrestling fan in me was like, oh, old school WCW references. All right, I see what you're doing. I mean, during the reshoots and the re-edits, they actually took out Seth freaking Rollins out of the movie, which was very saddening to me. But this is the feature film debut of Anthony Mackie in the title role, and you also have Harrison Ford stepping in as President Thaddeus Ross. And Sam Wilson is finding himself in the middle of an international incident. Go figure, it's a Captain America movie, there's politics aplenty. After meeting up with the president, Thaddeus Ross, played by Harrison Ford, he must soon discover the reason behind a nefarious global plot before the true mastermind has the entire world seeing red. This is coming to you from director Julius Onah, who brought you The Cloverfield Paradox, which, by the way, is a gigantic hunk of shit for a horror movie. So forgive me if I stepped into Brave New World a little bit trepidatious, especially after hearing the news that this movie wasn't really received all that well in first press screenings, and then they had to do a whole bunch of reshoots over a month or so. Did those reshoots necessarily help the final product? Captain America Brave New World is by no means perfect. I certainly don't think it holds a candle to the previous 3 Captain America movies. Now, I know what you're thinking. And no, don't turn this into the fact that it's not Steve Rogers at the helm. Sam Wilson is far from the problem. Matter of fact, Anthony Mackie, I think, is one of this movie's biggest strengths. I think this is a fantastic follow-up for him, especially after what we saw in the Falcon and Winter Soldier miniseries a few years ago, which if you haven't seen before, this movie directly links to it. So think of this kind of as his sequel, if you will. And it delves into a lot of what should make a Captain America Captain America. Because Sam Wilson, unlike Steve Rogers, unlike Isaiah Bradley, who you also meet in the miniseries, this is just a human being. He's not a super soldier. He did not take the serum that Steve Rogers did all those years ago. He has to take on all of these threats, foreign and domestic, mano a mano, all while carrying the shield that Steve Rogers bestowed upon him at the end of Endgame. That is a massive burden on a human being. And I think the extra exploration that we get in this film is well warranted. Part of me kind of wishes we got a little bit more of that. Because when I figured out this movie was under 2 hours, the shortest solo Marvel movie in a long, long time, yeah, I definitely had my worries. Because it feels like, in terms of the screenplay and the thematic material, a lot of it feels very surface level. I wanted this movie to dig so much deeper than it did. For the record, though, this is not on the fault of Anthony Mackie, who has a couple of brilliant scenes. One of which has a cameo, which I dare not spoil, which was absolutely a crowd pleaser tonight. As you heard in my first thoughts video, which I had my lovely girlfriend in with me, she was ecstatic to see this cameo. I'll just leave it at that. But this is honestly getting me into what I think is Brave New World's biggest issue. The reshoots I definitely think were a big factor in this. There's so freaking much going on, especially for a non-Avengers team-up movie, a solo MCU movie. You have less than 2 hours to work with, and there's so many plot elements going left and right and center. Don't get me wrong, you still get a lot of great MCU moments with Anthony Mackie. You get a lot of typical fun action sequences here. He looks brilliant in the Captain America suit, might I add. Holy crap. But let me explain this problem to you guys twofold. Number one, again, I feel like the reshoots was a big factor in this. There are 5 writers credited in the final credits. 5. That is way too goddamn many. Either stick with just one solo writer or a team of 2. That's it. When you have too many cooks in the kitchen, of course you're going to have a gigantic mess of a script. And of course it's going to feel a bit unfocused. And that's kind of what Brave New World felt like. You want to know what else it felt like? Certainly didn't feel like a Captain America sequel. Actually, it kind of felt like a direct sequel to The Incredible Hulk from 2008. And there were definitely a great amount of crowd-pleasing moments for any fans of that Incredible Hulk movie. I'm looking at you, Luke Ponto. I know that you guys exist. It's a small crop of you in the Marvel Studios fan base, but I know there's a couple of you that absolutely love that film. And you know what? That's totally fine. It's still fun, though. I'm not saying it's bad. But the main crux of the problem is that Anthony Mackie really was not the central focus of this story. At least it didn't feel that way to me. No, the main character in this movie, in my eyes, was Thaddeus Ross. And once again, leave it to Harrison Ford to save a movie from utter disaster. He's done this a few times over the past decade or so. And honestly, this might be a new niche for him. Like, this is the second time that we've seen Harrison Ford in a big action blockbuster playing the President of the United States. You guys ever watch this baby? So much fun 90s action cheese. Damn it, get off my plane! You get a lot more fun Harrison Ford dialogue and a lot more fun Harrison Ford delivery like you'd expect in an Air Force One. But no, even in a movie that is named after Sam Wilson, Thaddeus Ross seems to me like the most fleshed out character. His arc feels the most complete out of anybody in this movie. His story is the only one that has a solid beginning, middle, and end. And look, yeah, I get it. Sam Wilson, this is not the end for him. He's probably going to have a solo sequel. He's definitely going to be anchoring the Avengers teams in both Doomsday and Secret Wars. Sam Wilson is going to be a very important figure in the MCU moving forward. But, oh man, you know, I wish in a movie that's titled Captain America, you would think that he's the most fleshed out character. But it's President Thunderbolt, I'm sorry. And another part of me kind of wishes, and this isn't necessarily the fault of the movie, this is on the marketing team, I really wish they kept Red Hulk a surprise. Because look, over the past 3-4 phases or so, I respect Kevin Feige for placing trust in his audience. And I respect him so much for not falling into the Batman v Superman formula of giving away all the surprises in the marketing. But no, a good chunk of the trailers and a lot of the posters for this movie, you see the Red Hulk. You see his hand punching the shield. God, I really wish they didn't give that part away. Because the Red Hulk's entire sequence, you see it in the trailer. Like, there is nothing new with the Red Hulk. So don't expect a lot of Thaddeus Ross just like... He doesn't do that throughout the entire movie. So I feel like a good chunk of you guys might walk out of Brave New World disappointed. And yeah, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't in that bunch. I was certainly expecting more out of a movie with Captain America in the title, especially considering the past few entries with this character have been doggone awesome. But God, your central focus was not where it should have been. The story has just way too much going on and not enough time to cover everything. Tim Blake Nelson is in this movie and he feels like a pretty bland character, very by the numbers. Giancarlo Esposito, one of the greatest actors of our generation over the past couple decades at least, very nothing role for him. Giancarlo Esposito basically serves as an exposition machine. I expect way more out of writers to come up with something better for that man. But that being said, Brave New World is nowhere near the bottom of the barrel when it comes to Marvel movies. I've seen way worse than this. I still had a lot of fun checking it out at the movie theater. I still had a great old time with my girlfriend as we get into Valentine's Day weekend. And I will give this movie massive credit for one last thing. There have been 35 of these Marvel movies at this point under the Feige era, and the amount of links that go back to various Marvel projects is astounding here. I mentioned you have some loose ends tied up dating back to The Incredible Hulk, which came out in 2008. How crazy is that? We also have links, of course, to the other Captain America entries. There's links to Black Widow as well. One of the biggest action set pieces takes place on the Celestial Island from Eternals. And I know Eternals also has their fan base, but it feels like Eternals has been largely forgotten since it came out all those years ago. So I'm glad that this movie was creating those links and establishing that, hey, we're still Marvel. We're still giving you some pretty nice awesomeness here and there. But this just felt like a big splat of red, white, and blue all over your screen. I wish the script wasn't this messy with the reshoots and what have you. Nevertheless, so proud of Anthony Mackie. So proud to see how far he's come. And I can't wait to see what's next for him. I'm going to give Captain America Brave New World a C+. So yeah, if you go in expecting a lot of Red Hulk, you're probably going to leave very pissed off. And there is one post-credit sequence which takes place after all the credits have rolled as opposed to the mid-credits that you're used to. And I'm not going to say it's a bad scene. It's pretty much exactly what you would expect. But let me know what you guys thought of Brave New World in the comments section below. Was this your guys' favorite Marvel movie if you've seen it yet? It probably won't be. But hit that subscribe button if you're new and tap on that thumbs up as well. If you like discussing all new things in the cinematic world, if you like discussing all things in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I reviewed every single Marvel project up to this point, then heck, you've stopped at a good place. And this channel is inching oh so close to 2,000 subscribers. I cannot wait to reveal for you a special surprise once we reach that mark. But again, we don't get this surprise until you guys help me get there. Thank you guys so very much again for your continued support. And with all that being said, Back Talk, commence.